Conservatism is built on the idea that society functions best when rooted in tradition and established institutions. Conservatives believe that maintaining cultural values, respect for authority, and social hierarchies is crucial to stability. They view sudden or radical change with skepticism, preferring gradual evolution and emphasizing the importance of personal responsibility. Whether it's a focus on national identity, family structures, or a free market economy, conservatism stresses the need to preserve what works while cautiously addressing societal issues. Liberalism is one of the core ideologies of the modern world. It revolves around the belief in individual rights, freedoms, and equality. Liberals champion the idea that people should have the freedom to pursue their own path, whether that's in terms of free expression, religion, or economic ventures. At the same time, they support government intervention when necessary to protect these freedoms and to ensure that all members of society have an equal opportunity to succeed. Liberalism is often associated with democracy, civil liberties, and free markets, aiming for a balance between personal autonomy and social justice. Moderatism represents the middle ground in the political spectrum. Moderates tend to reject extreme positions and favor pragmatic solutions over ideology. They may agree with certain policies from both conservative and liberal perspectives, choosing to focus on what works rather than on rigid adherence to a single worldview. Moderates often advocate for compromise and gradual reforms, believing that the best way to address societal challenges is through cooperation and balance, rather than division. Capitalism is an economic system defined by private ownership of the means of production, where goods and services are exchanged in a competitive free market. Under capitalism, businesses and individuals are encouraged to seek profit, which drives innovation, economic growth, and efficiency. Proponents argue that capitalism rewards hard work and creativity, giving people the freedom to succeed or fail based on their own merits. However, critics point out that capitalism can lead to wealth inequality and exploitation, where those who control capital have disproportionate power over those who work for them. Socialism stands in contrast to capitalism by advocating for collective or governmental control of resources and industries. Socialists believe that wealth should be distributed more equally, with an emphasis on providing for the basic needs of all citizens, such as healthcare, education, and housing. In a socialist society, the focus shifts from profit to social welfare, with the goal of reducing economic inequality and ensuring that no one is left behind. While some socialist movements call for complete government control of the economy, others support a mixed approach where key industries are nationalized, but private businesses still operate. Syndicalism takes a more radical approach to socialism by advocating for workers' direct control of the means of production. In this system, industries are organized into self-managed trade unions, and workers collectively make decisions about production, wages, and working conditions. Syndicalism opposes both capitalism and state socialism, arguing that true economic democracy can only be achieved when workers control their own labor without interference from either the state or capitalists. It's a movement that envisions a decentralized economy where power is placed directly in the hands of workers. Corporatism is a system that organizes society by grouping individuals into corporate entities based on their role in the economy, such as labor, business, or agriculture. Each group or corporation has a voice in the political decision-making process with the goal of harmonizing the interests of different social classes to promote the common good. Unlike capitalism, where competition drives economic activity, corporatism seeks cooperation between these groups to achieve economic stability and social order. It's a system that has been employed in various forms, often by authoritarian regimes aiming to control class conflict. Libertarianism is an ideology that places the highest value on individual liberty. Libertarians argue that people should be free to make their own choices in all aspects of life, with minimal government interference. This includes economic freedom, where the free market should operate without regulation, and social freedom, where individuals are allowed to pursue their own lifestyles as long as they do not infringe on the rights of others. Libertarianism is critical of government overreach, particularly in areas like taxation, censorship, and regulation, believing that the best way to maximize freedom is to minimize the state's power. Separatism, or secessionism, advocates for the political independence of a specific group or region from a larger political entity. This can be driven by cultural, ethnic, religious, or political differences, where a group believes that its identity or interests are not adequately represented within the larger state. Separatist movements seek to create a new, autonomous nation or government. Throughout history, separatist movements have emerged in places where marginalized or distinct populations seek self-determination, leading to both peaceful and violent struggles for independence. Communism is a radical form of socialism that seeks to abolish private property and establish a classless, stateless society. Under communism, all resources and means of production are owned collectively, and wealth is distributed based on need rather than ability or contribution. Communists believe that capitalism inevitably leads to class conflict and exploitation, where a small elite controls the wealth while the majority labor for their benefit. In a communist society, the state would eventually wither away, leaving behind a self-managed, egalitarian community free from oppression and inequality. This ideology has inspired revolutions, but has also been criticized for leading to authoritarian regimes. Feminism is a movement and ideology that advocates for gender equality, focusing on dismantling the systemic inequalities and oppression faced by women. Feminists seek to challenge patriarchal structures that have historically placed women in a subordinate position to men, advocating for equal rights in politics, the workplace, and society at large. Feminism encompasses a range of perspectives, from liberal feminists who seek legal and political reforms, to radical feminists who call for a more fundamental restructuring of society. Regardless of the approach, feminism seeks to empower women and create a more just and equitable world for all genders. Anarchism is a political philosophy that opposes all forms of hierarchical authority, particularly the state. Anarchists believe that society can and should be organized without the need for government, relying instead on voluntary cooperation, mutual aid, and direct democracy. They argue that the state inherently corrupts and oppresses individuals, and that true freedom can only be achieved through the dismantling of coercive institutions, like governments, police forces, and capitalist structures. Anarchism envisions a society where people govern themselves through decentralized horizontal networks rather than top-down control. Environmentalism is an ideology that emphasizes the importance of protecting the natural world from human exploitation and degradation. Environmentalists advocate for policies aimed at preserving ecosystems, reducing pollution, and combating climate change. They argue that economic growth and industrial development must be balanced with sustainability to ensure that future generations have access to clean air, water, and resources. Environmentalism has grown from a fringe concern to a central issue in global politics, as the effects of climate change become more apparent and the need for environmental stewardship becomes urgent. Populism is not so much a coherent ideology as it is a political strategy that claims to represent the voice of the common people against a corrupt or out-of-touch elite. Populist leaders often present themselves as champions of ordinary citizens, criticizing established political parties, economic elites, or cultural elites. Populism can appear on both the left and right of the political spectrum, depending on the issues it focuses on, whether economic inequality or national identity. While populism can mobilize political movements by appealing to emotions and grievances, it is also criticized for oversimplifying complex issues and promoting authoritarianism. Republicanism is a political ideology that emphasizes the importance of civic virtue and participation in government. In a republic, the head of state is elected rather than inheriting power, and political authority is seen as deriving from the consent of the governed.